And you can hear me? Yes, very good. Richard, Osanna, Dula. This morning when I woke up, I wrote this text and I thought that I would start by just reading it to you. It's just about, non-duality. All suffering begins with a sense of division, a subtle feeling that something is wrong or missing, that life should be different than it is. We might try to solve this through achievement, through healing, through control, but the restlessness remains no matter how much we accomplish. Non-duality is not a belief. It's not something to sell or convince you of. It's a direct invitation to see the depth that is the same in all spiritual traditions. You are already whole. The peace you're looking for has never been somewhere else. At the heart of our suffering, there is a simple assumption. I am a someone. A separate person, a fixed identity, a center around which everything else appears. From that belief, the world becomes divided. Me and what threatens me and what I desire, me and what I fear. This sense of separation drives the constant effort to protect, to manage, to escape, to give, and gives agency to a sense of victimhood. But what if that believed identity isn't real in the way I assume? What if the whole structure of conflict, inner and outer, rests on a case of mistaken identity? Non-duality simply means not two. It points to the reality that there is no inner or outer, no separate experiencer or experience. There is only this, whatever is appearing, known in the light of pure awareness. When this is seen clearly, the war inside stops. There's no longer a you trying to reach peace. There is only peace, already present, noticing itself. Maybe you have already had a glimpse of this. Maybe that's why you're here. This isn't about adopting a new world view. It's about recognizing what's always been true. Through self-inquiry, we begin to ask simple, radical questions. Who is this I that wants to be free? Where is the one who feels divided? And if we don't rush to answer with the mind, but actually look, we may discover that the one who longs for truth is not separate from it. Non-duality doesn't promise a better future. It shows that freedom is not in time. Freedom is here when the imagined seeker falls away. What remains is simply presence, undivided, at rest. It's not something you create, it's something you recognize. So this is not a path of effort in the usual sense, but a certain kind of sincerity and willingness to look inward may still be necessary. It is a pathless path, not a progression. It's not about becoming, but returning to what you are. Let this be your starting point. Be aware of this moment. Allow the breathing to happen on its own. Let everything be just as it is. And begin to notice, not in terms of inside or outside, but simply what is here now. It's always a balance. The subjective mind, with its habits, always tries to find its way forward. It interprets things from that viewpoint. It looks for patterns that it wants to see. If you have the tendency to see things as overwhelming, too much, too complicated, you will find that. If you're scared by paradoxes, you will find that. If you're scared of change, you will find that. Everyone's challenges are different. For one, this teaching is infinitely grounding. For another, it becomes spiritual bypassing. And most people misjudge subjectivity and the way that they look at the world. It's so easy to get lost. And yet people mainly say that they don't need a guide. They say Buddha didn't need a guide. This and this guru never had a guide. Okay? But when you see the tendencies in yourself to get stuck, to get lost, that the progression seems to be very slow, it's a great way of just being able to ask questions, find the guidance of being and the reflection of the teacher. In my personal experience, I resisted that for such a long time. I was one of those who said, I can do it by myself. And as a young man, I always disliked authorities. I had the view that it was all bad. And when I started to go to teachers that I trusted, and especially when I found my guru and really gave myself over, it's so beautiful. You should always be skeptical of teachers. You should always watch them. Allow yourself to take your time. Watch them for a while and see that they seem to be okay. And see for the traits that they want your freedom, not just collect smart students, promising students. That the teacher want you to be the same as them. I didn't recognize my guru as my guru at first. I was going to Mooji as well, and saw Mooji as my main teacher, and that I could go to this other teacher that was not so famous, but it was okay. I could live in the ashram, and it was also good to go to those satsangs. And I feel almost ashamed of saying that now. And when I realized that my guru was my guru, it was just that I could watch myself in a mirror. I could see my tendencies, how I tried, how I strived, how I wanted things. And he could just dispel all of that so easily, without doing anything. That the beingness itself just became clear. And I know that a young version of myself would have hated these things that I say right now. I would have so much distrust with that. And I think the young version of me would be so surprised by these words. And it sounds like beingness is a sort of magic, and it is in a way. Because it is what brings happiness into everything without any cause. It is what creates unconditional love. Whatever view you have of this subject, if you want to call it non-duality or Vedanta or whatever, whatever view you have of it, it will still always be that. Because it's not a philosophy. It's not a system to believe in. Sometimes people come, they just come once, and maybe I meet them and they say, yes, I can't really feel alignment with your philosophy. Then you completely misunderstood me. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. And I understand that from the surface, and if you're used to listen to philosophical podcasts, that might be your view of watching me. But that is not what's happening. If my words touch you, they are worth something. If my beingness touches you, it is worth something. It is a reflection. That's it. And people might say to me, you have to reach more people have to know about this. I don't care so much about that. If you're interested in this, that is good enough for me. I want there to be freedom in it. I want it to be voluntary. Because I know what it does when it's not. You can think that it's great, but there's always some strain with it. That something has to be held up. That the belief have to be kept. If you have a movement of positivity, or if you have a movement of a very distinct belief, it always have to be upheld. This is not about upholding anything. This is about examining what is. It's just that there is almost nothing that we approach in that way. Nothing when it comes to information or learning something that we approach in that way. We look at every subject with progression, becoming better. And the mind can still have this feeling. Maybe you have been practicing for a long time and you feel deeply connected to beingness and you feel the expressions of that. The mind can still run with it and say, oh, I'm a great meditator. But that is not what is happening. You're just in alignment with what is. You're not better or worse. You're not progressing in time like that. There can be an experience of it. You can say, over time my mind has become more silent. Okay. But it's in reality not a progression. It's just that you're more in alignment with what is. It's just an acceptance. It's not a skill that you have sharpened. And that's also why the approach to meditation and to non-duality is different. And it's so common that you start to hear about, okay, it's not of accumulating knowledge, it's not about becoming something, it is about surrendering, you hear. And then you start to try to surrender. And again, you're in this identified state of trying to become something, trying to go somewhere. And if you're convinced that you have to try to surrender, you can do that as much as you want until you notice that it is impossible. That surrender doesn't happen in doing. That you cannot convince yourself to surrender. Because surrender is the stopping of doing. It's when you stop trying. Stop meddling. And as with many things, when you remove them, it is not a doing. Because the continuing of it is just a habit of going with. And the mechanical behavior of thinking and identification can just happen because there is not awareness of it. Because it happens in the dark. That's how it can be mechanical and the same. And the sense of doing in this case is to stay as awareness. And at first that feels like a doing. Oh, I have to remember that there is thinking. I have to remember to be aware of the body. I have to remember to be aware of this moment. It can feel very much, and if you really put effort into it, you can get a headache even because you're concentrating so much, trying so hard to be aware. And there is an experience of that is like that. It feels like a something. But you will notice at some point that this awareness that happens, this recognition of the present moment, is not an effort. That is your natural state. That just is. It is everything else that is the ideas of becoming, the identification with thoughts as personal. And this also happens in the dark. Most people look at the world always through the eyes of the identified self. Because it feels like such a strange thing to be aware of the idea of the person. And when you look and try to look at that idea, it's so easy to bring in the eyes of that idea. Do you understand? You look at the ego with the eyes of the ego. So you try to solve the ego with that view. But it has nothing to do with strategizing or trying to solve or trying to get rid of it. The misidentification is in the idea of you as a someone. And I'm not saying that as a philosophical idea. I thought for such a long time that it was in some way like a philosophy. I felt like, I think I understand the concepts of this quite deeply, I felt like. But there was something that still felt like, yes, but beingness itself, and to completely accept the present moment, that is some kind of like utopia or philosophy. Even if I wouldn't even like to touch those words because I wouldn't like them really. But there was something in me that was like that until the moment the ego fell. And it was like, what the teacher says is true. I felt like what Nisargadatta says, Ramana, I felt like that. It didn't feel like, it felt so simple and direct and practical, not like some philosophy that you build upon or have faith in or believe in some way, that you really, I feel so aligned with it. All those pretentious aspects of it felt ridiculous. It was like a child noticing the world. Oh, it just is. The thing that I usually thought that I was is not. In these very, very basic terms. And that's why I can say with such certainty that you don't have to, it is not a question of wits. It's not a question of being smart or figuring something out. Because you listen to non-dual teachers and many of them are they're great with words, they're very verbal, they're so good to explain things that you think, that is the kind of qualities that you need to be really good at meditation. And it has nothing to do with that. It's so easy to be charmed by the surface of things. The way things look, the way things are presented, and think that that has something to do with the reality behind it. And it has not. That is the same thing that the fame that Mooji had, that drew me to him as a teacher, part of it was also what made me discard Swami, because he was not a famous teacher. And when I noticed that I was so taken by these very superficial things, I felt stupid. I felt like I just bought into fame as a legitimacy instead of really looking at the teacher. It's so easy to fall into these things. And you can say, I feel quite safe in myself. I'm quite okay with the things that is. I can accept things and I can discern things and all this. But we still get lost. And when I talk with all of you, I'm so happy for all my stupid mistakes. Because I can share them with you and you can recognize the same things. And it feels like some of the things that some of the misconceptions in non-duality are unavoidable. Seems like so many people are trying to figure it out with the mind. And for many people, they have to do that until it doesn't work anymore. But it's so easy to bypass that by saying, that's not the way. I know that is not the way, so I'm not going to pursue that. I'm not going to go with that anymore. So then you stop yourself. You censor yourself. But you still have a longing to explore it. Then just go. Go all the way. See where the road ends. And if there is some belief, but maybe I am the one... Markus is not so sharp. Maybe I'm the one who's to solve it. And I think that to do it always feels like you're a bit crazy when you do go on a spiritual search like that, because you always go beyond the boundaries of maybe your parents or the people around you or your friends. It feels scary. It's just a part of doing the spiritual work that is like that. And I know some of you might say, but yes, I've always been considered strange. And that would be a pro in this. That just makes it a little bit easier. That you perhaps never really cared. And I think always when you explore things that are on the edge or outside the common norm of things, it will feel like a little part of you are leaving society behind, and maybe your family and people around you. And this is mainly a fear of the ego, because the ego really wants to, the identity with the person really wants to just fit in, be loved, be accepted. So it feels like maybe I just become strange now. A little bit crazy, a little cuckoo. But we need to go there. The longing will be there. And sometimes you get overwhelmed on the path. You get a bit frightened because you see the vastness of nothingness and fullness. And you come face to it and you just, oh shit. This is what it is. And it might scare you for a while, and you take 2 steps back and say, oh, I think I'm going to be a bit careful with meditation for a while. That's also fine. It will happen. But the longing comes again. The fear subsides and the longing comes again. There is an intuitive sense that says, this is the way. I know that this is the way. It's not because someone has sold it to me or convinced me. It's just naturally, this is the way. And it takes a while for most people to see it, to see the naturalness, to understand the natural expression of beingness, and to trust it. It's usually great when you come into some kind of crisis and you have to trust the universe. And sometimes you have no choice. There is nothing to choose in it. It just pushes you. And the universe is beautiful like that. The experience is beautiful like that. It's like it conspires with you. It always pushes you in that direction. If you have things and your subjective view and your fears and all these things with you, it will come and do like this. Look. Oh, you haven't really accepted this one. This is the third time now. We have to look again. And you might think that you're a victim of things, or it's too harsh, or it's too brutal, or it's too much. But when you see what it really does, if you're really honest with yourself and not externalize things, not blame others, not point fingers anymore, and really take it in and look, you will start to say, the Guru is in everything. Everything shows me. Everything pushes this. It's like a natural movement of things. It's just awareness looking for itself. Through the expression of this experience. The play of awareness and consciousness. The emptiness and fullness of life. And when you're no longer obsessed with the external idea of things and start to look at the mechanics of what is happening, you start to look at your state when you go into sleep, when you go out of sleep. You come back to the recognition of this moment all the time, in every moment, in the most non-spiritual moments and in the most spiritual moments. You recognize, you come back to it. And suddenly the heaviness and the restlessness of your life becomes secondary. The tamastic and rajastic qualities feel secondary to the sattvic quality. It's just a question of priorities. To see that the sattvic qualities are important when you have been told by everyone, maybe all your upbringing, that the rajastic, to be an achiever, to be a doer, is everything that counts. And it's great with people who are accepting and loving, but that is secondary to that. And suddenly you notice the qualities of it and you see, this is number one. Without beingness, there is nothing of the other, and it has no value. If I just make myself as an efficient machine in society, you might be very successful. Using your wits and your smarts in your most efficient, best way. But does it create a good life? Does it create presence in the moment? Does it bring love and peace? Why do those things in our society sound like a hippie dream? And why are they not just reality? Normal. Why do people discard Vedanta and non-duality as an unachievable utopia? To me, it's ridiculous. But to many people, that is not possible. I cannot be that perfect, they will say, or something in those. But it has nothing to do with perfection. The acceptance of the present moment has nothing to do with perfection. It is actually the opposite. To accept all the imperfections, all the things that you're ashamed of, all the things that you think are not worthy, all those things. To embrace it all, the ugliness. And this is where transformation can happen. Then things are allowed to move again. Because in the stuckness of identity, it becomes stale. Awareness just looks and allows everything to move. It sounds so clinical when we talk like that, but that is another expression of love. The full acceptance of what is. You can call it self-love, or you can call it the love of others, but that is as much as a distinction as Atman and Brahman. It is the same. All unconditional love that comes is an expression of beingness. I know that it can feel like someone is coming and giving it to you. But that is not what is happening. It is just the openness of it in that moment. Then expression of your beingness is love. It's beautiful that we can have this conversation, that we can talk about these things. But can these words jump past your mind and into your heart? That is the question. Do they get stuck in the filter of philosophy? Or do they become your life? Can you recognize that what we're talking about is you. Not as a person, but your essence. That when we talk about beingness, it's not something that comes and goes. It's not inside Ramana Maharshi. That it is you. And it's just the first expression of you. And on top of that, you can put the idea of being a someone. And it doesn't matter because it's still you. Notice if you have the idea that there is some distance between you and it. That you have to go somewhere or become something for it. This distance, if you have a sense of distance, always comes from the idea of the person and where that person is. And that can always be recognized. You can listen to satsangs and you can listen to teachings a lot, but at some point there has to be the recognition of what is. And just, maybe it starts with just a trying to recognize in this moment the I, this sense of I. Instead of just going with strategies and whatever the conclusions the idea of I has, to look at the I itself. And even if you don't understand what that means, if that feels too abstract for you, try it anyway. See if you can recognize the sense of I. And you might say, I have a feeling I am the body. So I'm recognizing the body. Okay. But while recognizing the body, what is recognizing the body? Where is the onlooker? Is it the body? It's not looking from the body. It is something is aware of the body. So there is something more subtle than the body. Even if you say that you feel identified with it. Okay. Look for it. See where you end up. And you might say, there seems to be a thought that somehow said, okay, look at the thought. And when you come back to it, see what it does. See if you're really looking. And if you need to reason a little bit about it and discern, do that. And then again, look. It's fine. And as soon as you start to have some awareness of this identification happening, and especially if you just have a moment where you see that it comes and goes. It can go when you wake up in the morning, for example. It's a common moment where the identification has not yet set in. You feel a bit disoriented, and you notice how it comes and how you again become the whole idea of a person and all what comes with that. That it's like you remember your feelings. If you had anxiety for something, it's not there until the moment that you remember this person that is anxious for something, and it clicks in again. And when you start to see these gaps, it can also happen in meditation that you just lose time. There is a gap of just where beingness just completely takes over, and it feels like you come back. And you notice that the whole collection of thoughts and emotions with that come and go. Then you start to understand the mechanics of that happening. And you understand the unrealness of it. Because up to that point where there is a gap in that, it's very likely that you just find it real. You would say, this is my life, this is my situation, this is my experience. And if you're attentive when you go to sleep and you start to notice the different states that the mind go into when it starts to come close to sleep, that the logic changes and the thoughts become more surreal like, and then it goes into the sleeping state, and also when it wakes up. All those transitions are very helpful in this, but they can happen if you just do your daily sadhana. It can also be gaps, or if you just walk out walking and you just observe and suddenly you lose the idea of I. And if it happens to you the first time, for many people it feels like a big event. It feels like something big is going on, but it actually just normal, and it feels so big that it feels like I cannot stay in this vastness. It's too much. And then it happens more, and then it becomes normal. There's no longer fear of it. It's just the freedom of it, and the identification feels instead very rigid, very small. And the state becomes very pleasant and very sattvic. It's very easy to be. And it can still move between the tamastic and rajastic states, the more ambitious states and the low, sluggish states. It can move between all these. But when you're in the sattvic state, really allow it to take space. Allow it to be your first priority. It sounds like doing in that, but it's not really. It's more of a seeing it. The words fail me here a little bit. And the more you look at things through the sattvic state, it will be apparent that everything else is so much stickiness and so heavy that you don't care for it much. It won't feel so interesting as it might have been before. And the sattvic qualities are beautiful because they have the impersonal qualities. When you serve from that state, it just feels like you're giving to the whole. Gratitude is so natural. It's not about becoming grateful. It's just gratitude. And it's not difficult. It's just to go where not many people go. That's it. And I know that the fears of the mind is to be alone or insane or not to fit in, not being loved. All these things. But those fears are not real. It's just the identified mind trying to hold you back a little bit. See if it's still relevant. Any questions today? Yes? The mic is there.
I think as I sort of maybe dare to sort of veer into madness and trying things like bhakti and bowing to Shiva and trying new things, like I find like such liberation, like sometimes just like I feel such freedom now, like it feels amazing. But I notice as well that I can sort of feel myself like policing myself, like ego creeping in, saying like, "Oh no, shouldn't want to do that anymore. Now you're spiritual. No, like oh you shouldn't want to have a beer anymore or something." Like I think sort of alcohol was like an example of this. I know we spoke the last time I think about that I was going to meet some friends and I was sort of not really looking forward to it being a sort of very boozy evening, and it didn't become like that for me in any case, but it did for some other people. And then I really felt like, I don't want to drink a lot. But then I found myself sort of thinking about that afterwards, like, yeah, no, it's bad to drink alcohol, I shouldn't do that. But then it just becomes like a very sort of unnatural way to be. It's sort of where I'm sort of, no, this is my new identity now. Is this? And I can sort of see it happening, this process. And then kind of in connection with this, I guess, maybe there's like two questions here. There's like one, maybe a little bit of sort of advice about that, and just kind of allowing myself to be, but in sort of exploration of the Bhakti side of things, and then I've been just learning a little bit more about Kashmiri Shaivism, which is something which I've always sort of had a sort of interest about, so an idea about maybe that's something that's interesting.
What
about Kashmiri Shaivism?
Okay.
And I found, I don't know if this is just my lack of knowledge about this. I'm very open to that. Could be the fact, but I found a sort of something in the sort of tantric approach, the sort of that sort of more. It felt to me a little bit like there was more of a sort of welcoming of the world, and that spoke to me a little bit, considering what I'm just saying now, that I felt like I was sort of like, no, I need to, now that I'm a spiritual person, I need to tell all my friends and like, and sort of shun the world like this. And I felt like I was sort of that learning more about this, and I guess it's probably not really so different to Advaita Vedanta really, but it felt a little bit more like this resonated with me as something more just sort of like, oh, everything is Shiva anyway. It's just like, it's all divine. There's nothing which isn't beautiful, and just to really kind of, and that sort of felt like, oh, okay, I can just relax a little bit and stop like policing myself.
Yes. So
I don't know. I mean, I'm interested if you have any thoughts about all this.
Because also the resistance to it, and the idea of that you have to keep some kind of perfect form is very rigid. I would advise you, when you go and have a beer with your friends, to really enjoy that beer. Smell it, touch the cold glass, feel the condensation of it, make it holy. So bring everything in. It's so easy to say that certain things are not supposed to be there. But you don't have to make, and the other end of that spectrum is that you become, oh, we're the mindful drinkers now, and you start a whole thing of it. Do you understand? That is what happens sometimes, I feel like. You go into it first with acceptance and to be very with awareness of it and really allowing it. And there can be so much beauty in that. There can really be the freedom of that as well. And also that it just breaks the stereotypes of the one who is interested in meditation. That you can be interested in normal things. Do normal stuff. Play in a band. Do whatever it. And not everything that the only music you have to listen to is mantra. It's not like that. It's much more of approaching everything as the divine. I can just take an example from my own life. I like very much to make electronic music with my friend Christopher, and we have a little act and we play live sometimes, and our whole thing that we do is just that we listen to each other. We prepare and then we just listen to each other, what the other person does, and we just see how we can, as much as possible, just allow the moment to happen in that. And it's beautiful. It's so much fun. We're like small children with it. It's very, very playful and very non-rigid. But it can seem you see my synthesizer and all our things, it seems like, oh, you have to know a lot. There's something difficult and very nerdy about this. But for us, it's just play. And the presence of it, the beauty of it. And Christopher, who is not very well versed in meditation, he just says, those moments are so beautiful. He just says that it's so beautiful. And it can just, because it just seeps into the things that you do. And even the moment when you meet your friends and enjoy a beer with them, that you really listen to them, that you really enjoy the beer. Nothing is shunned, nothing is wrong. Just really enjoy the moment. That is all what the practice says. And if you one day feel like, I don't want any more beers, okay, then it's good. But up to that point, enjoy them. Enjoy what you do. Because otherwise it just becomes resistance, it becomes nitpicking, and you say, this is not good, and this is, and you have all these things, and it just creates tension. And then you feel destructive every time you're longing for a beer. It just becomes more polarization, more division in it. So just enjoy it, allow it. And you will notice in certain cases that the mind thrives in the polarization of things. And those things will get less interesting. Because you will allow things. It is not as we think. Do you understand what I mean by that? We have an idea. How am I a spiritual person? It is not how you think. It is your approach to life just becomes the acceptance of things and allowing them. And what the expression for you is different from the next person and the next.
I think maybe I recognize that some things have really changed in my life, some things have really fallen away, and sort of I think that maybe can create a feeling of like, oh great, I'm a much better person now. And then I can sort of see how easily a new identity will creep in, which makes this rigidity. And then maybe it's like, oh, I don't want to meditate, I don't want to bow today, I want to drink beer or something. And then like, no, can't do that, that's going back, and I'm sort of afraid of losing things, and then make all this fear about that, I'm going to lose this stuff, and then it just becomes rigid, and unnatural. I feel sort of like, oh, I can't do anything anymore, and then I realize, okay, like you say, it's not that. I need to just let happen what's happening.
Yes, the progression is not in the way of becoming better like that. It's so easy for the ego to hold on to that. And even if you start to feel perhaps very sattvic and very free in your expression, and it feels very normal in your life, it's very easy for the ego to creep in and say, I'm a little bit holier than everyone else. I'm a little bit better. It won't say that out loud really, but there is something in your whole demeanor that says, I'm up here. So all those things, and the ego can be very subtle. It can also take on if it knows that you do your inquiry and you really look for the I, me, minds that it puts out, it will do it in a very sophisticated, quite quiet way, and will just show, I am a little bit better. So, and those things will happen. And when you feel like you're adapting new things, and also this feeling that you might have a feeling that you're moving away from your friends or doing something that you know that some of them would not accept, then it's very easy to feel insecure about your identity and then double down. That's also something to just be aware of. It's so easy to, okay, I really have to show that I am this now. But there is a naturalness to how things are expressed and how they come. And when you're accepting of it, it just comes naturally. And the more there is acceptance in you, the easier it will be for people around you to accept you, because they will just feel, oh, you feel more comfortable. You feel more like yourself, they will say things like this. And then there is nothing to really, even if they think that you do strange things in conjunction with that, they won't be so much, there won't be any friction. But if you feel like you have a pose, that you're a poser as a meditator, then people will be on you. They will call you out. They will make your life miserable. Because you will express that you're not really what you give yourself to be. Mm. Mm. Thank you. And when you move away from things that are the norm, it feels scary. That is completely normal. And you will have the feeling, am I just going to be strange? Won't people like me anymore? They won't accept me? All these fears. No, completely normal. Someone else? It can be expressed in so many ways. There's so many flavors of people, and how you approach beingness can have so many variations. We're so beautifully different. Some people are very forceful in their way of approaching things, and some are very subtle and soft. And there is no right approach. And also the experience and the experiences that I have is from also in that sense a subjective perspective. And when you listen to me for a while, you start to understand where it's pointing, how the words are used. And in that sense, time can be helpful. Because we need to be reminded. We need to come back to the source again and again and again. We get lost in our ideas of our subjective identity, in the ways that we try things. And when we're reminded, we recognize again. We recognize that we are the source of everything. And that statement is the same as beingness is the source of everything. Because the limitation of the words is that they can sound identified when they're not. You can use the word I when you refer to beingness. And you can use the word I when you refer to the identified self. So we have to be able to discern. We have to be able to discern thoughts, that it's an expression of this beingness, and thoughts that are from the egoic identification. They have different qualities. When you see them clearly, it's so obvious. But the identification and the coloring of the identified mind can make it impossible sometimes. You might think that the longing for truth is just a strange expression. Or you get afraid of it. And when the intuitive sense, when there is space for it, I should say, and the expression is very pure, and you can just listen to it and follow it, and you understand what it is. And all its playful beauty, it can just be strange and very... it has no explanation. It can say things like, you have to go now. Okay. And if you trust it, you just go. You just do. You just go with it. And you see what happens with it. It is like the world can be calling you. You are needed here, now. You have to go. Okay? I have one example of this that is a bit funny, so I will tell the story. I was teaching at Ängsbacka a couple of years ago at the yoga festival, and I was just lying on my bed, resting in my room. And I was going to have a class a little later, so I just took it easy. And there comes this impulse to me that says, you have to go and take a shower. So I just go. Take off my clothes, take my towel on, and go to the showers. And in this part of the facility, some of the there were mainly teachers who stayed there, and I think the volunteers of Ängsbacka. And they had like these common shower rooms where many people shower at once. And I come into the shower room, and there are two men arguing. And one man is very, very upset. And he's like, the world is going to shit, and people are just sitting here doing asanas and go meditating and blah, blah. No one is really... He was so upset. He was really, really worked up, this man. And the other man, he was just trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. I think he got a bit scared of him. And they had started talking, and something triggered this man a lot. And I started to talk with him, and we started to talk about what the experience is. And I noticed that he had some understanding that was deeper than just to the surface. And he calmed down after a while, and the moment became very peaceful, and we're standing there both naked, hugging each other, and he's crying. It was a very beautiful moment. But it just felt like, and I didn't understand why I should go and have a shower. But when I came, there was something for me to be with. And those moments are just strange, because the impulse of them just happen. And I just take it as an example, because since I started to trust those things, because can be completely irrational. It wasn't rational to go and have a shower at that moment, but it was needed. And it just happens. But there is a much deeper movement of things that feels like you have to go, you have to... And the beauty is the playfulness of life, and that you don't know why the play is as it is. And it can feel like you go into situations where you sometimes don't know why you are there. But it usually just shows you. There is some quality that is a naturalness of it, that is just an unfolding happening. And that also just creates such a precious flavor to everything. It just becomes very beautiful. Because it's also non-personal. It has nothing to do with what I want to do, or that is not even near it. But it's just an expression happening. And it's like when you get when you just open to that, it can just happen much more. you notice these subtle qualities of things, the stickiness of the ego and the subtleness of the intuitive sense. And then it doesn't matter so much what the content of things are. If you think that what intuitive sense is pulling you towards is a destructive context, or you understand, if it's the right kind of moment or wrong. Beauty is allowed everywhere. You want to ask a question? Okay, take the mic.
I really like it, or I really feel it's very beneficial, or I don't know if that's the word, but like it really helps me when you speak about this subtleness and intuition rather than just going with the ego stickiness, because it's kind of like putting words to what I kind of need to listen to for guidance. But
can you hold the mic?
Yeah, sure. But it felt like it was never really, or often it wasn't encouraged that I would listen to my intuition. Is that why it's kind of like it feels
when you were growing up, or?
And still like or maybe that's just the way I interpret it, because I was conditioned in a way that
yes, there is also very common misunderstanding of intuition, and it is when people say that they go more with their gut or with their the direct impulses, but that is not always the intuitive sense. You understand that can just be also ego, but just emotional connection to that. But the intuitive sense is in a way is much deeper than just an impulse. It has a different quality, because an impulse always wants something. You understand? And the intuitive sense is not like that. It's more explorative in it. But it can have a lot of urgency and all those things. But it's not, you don't have a sense that you will gain anything from it. You understand what I mean by that?
It's much more explorative.
Yes, you should. I could say that it's more explorative. I don't know if that is exactly the right word.
But it feels like it knows that it knows, so it doesn't have to be so...
It doesn't care to convince you.
Yeah.
That is a better expression of it. Yeah. It doesn't care to convince you, because an impulse really wants something in the moment. You understand? It can have a lot of desire in it, an emotional impulse for something.
But I just feel that it feels like it's the way out of heaviness.
Yes, and there are some things that are connected here. Also, the expression that is needed for you can be in that impulse. You understand?
No.
The emotional content in it, to have a release in a moment where you feel tense, that you have to express something. These are the kind of things that many people hold back.
Yeah.
You feel irritated with someone or they've treated you badly, but they're your boss, so you cannot say anything. These kind of situations can be very, very sticky, or you feel like, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to come in a conflict with this person. So I better go along with it. And all those emotions get stuck. They get held instead of being expressed. And then you can feel a lot of impulse to that you really would like to express, and that you would feel much better by doing that.
Yeah, but also sometimes you can't, and then, but at least if you're aware, then you
then you can go home and scream in a pillow. Yes.
Yeah. but yeah, sometimes I think it's I get your point.
I just want that we discern what these different things are, so that they're clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also I want to be also clear with, because when we talk about like these egoic impulses, even if they're identified, there can be a need to express them. That's also something that happens with the idea of that you're spiritual, that you try to be like a perfect spiritual person, and that you don't have these. You start to sidestep these emotional impulses and all these things, and that's also real spiritual bypassing.
Yeah, that's another prison.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another prison.
Yeah.
Yes. And those things are very good that we talk about, because it's so easy that it creates some kind of perfect image of what the sadhana is and what it is to be a practitioner of this. That all these things, everything is okay. It's okay to feel everything. And of course, if you have been told growing up that many things that you express and that your expression itself is not okay, and you have to think more before you you can have all these voices put on you, and then you get stuck in a sense that you have to do things in a very specific way, and you get very stiff.
And I would
very rigid.
I would say, especially like doing things quickly and just get along with how things are going to do, and or how things are supposed to be done according to someone, or me interpreting it and want to just
that is just a continuation of that. You have been told it from the outside, and then it becomes a voice inside that says that. And
but that also makes you kind of like sometimes not being able to feel your body, or like it becomes like, oh, I'm just here, and it's just like survival kind of.
Yes. Because if it becomes too much, the more you suppress it, the less you're connected. So then it feels very difficult to navigate, because then you have the feeling that you always have to navigate from this voice, either from the outside, so you ask for the voice from someone else, or that internal voice that says you have to be like this and this, you have to do it faster, you have to, whatever it might be. But then you lose connection completely to what is the natural expressions. And it's very hard to get in touch with these things like intuition.
So then, for example, one sadhana could be to get in touch with one's intuition.
I think that in the first step, just to allow whatever you feel to be felt. I think that is a better place to start. That in the first step, just allow your feelings as they are. When you feel irritated, be with that. If you feel overwhelmed, be with that. Instead of having an idea of how you should approach it and trying, You understand?
Yeah.
It's so
And-
easy to go to strategy. Oh, I should push past this, or I should do something.
in whatever situation I am, if it's job, if it's studies, if it whatever.
Yes.
Like if they demand something that is not letting.
Yeah,
you
and
be
if you have
yourself.
difficulty digesting that emotion and how you should be with it, you say, I have to go to the bathroom. And you stay 5 minutes in the bathroom and you just close your eyes and you just feel the feeling.
Yeah.
So you can catch up with it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be overwhelmed or do a quick decision with it or whatever. And it can either settle in you, or you might have to express, I cannot accept this, or whatever you come to. But then you can just give yourself some space for that. You don't have to tell anyone what you're doing. You just say, I have to go to the bathroom, I'll be back.
Okay. Thank you. That's very helpful, by the way.
Yes. Very good. Richard has brought his guitar today. Yeah, there's applause here.
45-minute concert.
But can you come and sit here?
Yeah.
And
Sure.
can you bring Richard the microphone? Well, so now, wait. I thought it would. Something like that.
Yes.
Oh, you have taken out the chords for all of them.
Yeah.
That's great. So we can go with whatever.
Yeah.
Can we go He Govinda, He Gopala?
Yes.
He Govinda.
Yes.
To see if you have the right.
Yeah.
What?
We shall sing along.
Yes, please. He Govinda, He Gopala, He Govinda, He Gopala, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, He Govinda, He Gopala, He Govinda, He He Nityananda, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama. He Govinda, He Gopala, He Govinda, He Gopala, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama. He Govinda, He Gopala, He Govinda, He Gopala, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, He Vasudeva, He Nityananda, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama, Shri Radhe Radhe Radhe, Radhe 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 Shama. He Govinda, He Gopala. One more. Do you have a favorite? Nataraja?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Nataraja. Nataraja. Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. May all beings find the peace, the natural peace that is in this moment, in the pure awareness of being. May everyone find their way out of the suffering into the deep ocean of peace that resides beneath everything. Thank you. Thank you, Richard.